Hey everybody, KC here. So right now on Broadway, there's playing a revival of Thornton Wilder's Our Town, which is perhaps the great American play. And I haven't seen it. It's gotten wonderful reviews. But it's a production that's being done without props, without scenery. It's a very bare bones approach to the play. And it's interesting, in the third act, the New York Times had a story about it this weekend. In the third act, there's a scene where breakfast is being served in one of the homes in Grover's Corners, New Hampshire, which is where the play takes place. And as I said, there's no props. There's nothing physical there. But they wanted to evoke breakfast. So what they're doing on this production is off stage, just as they're getting to that scene, they have bacon frying backstage. And the smell, the aroma, it wafts throughout the theater. And to me, that's sort of brilliant, right? Because it's kind of like sense memory. Is there anybody among us who wouldn't instantly recognize that smell? Most of us are going to connect to it viscerally. It's going to connect us to something enormously pleasurable, something really comforting. And among other things, it makes us hungry. Now, listen, our town is the first show to do something like this. I remember we saw the musical version of Waitress a number of years ago, and they had pie baking. You could smell the pie baking in the theater. It's a really powerful thing to do. But the thing is, I can't remember the last time I was in a supermarket and I smelled bacon cooking. I think it's rare that you would ever smell fresh bread or fresh cookies baking. It just doesn't happen. For the vast number of retailers, the notion of using aromas to entice and delight customers isn't even on the table. Can you imagine in a supermarket, it's a Saturday morning, a Sunday morning, and people walk in the door and maybe they're a little cranky, whatever, they've got things to do, and there's a table there, and there's bacon cooking. And they get hit with that aroma. They're offered free samples. I think it changes the nature of the supermarket shopping experience. I think it's going to affect traffic. I think it's going to affect the sales. I think it's going to affect profits because people are going to connect to it in a different kind of way. And here's the great thing. At our town on Broadway, so on Wednesdays and on the weekends, they have both a matinee performance and an evening performance. Well, what they do is after the matinee performance, they take all that bacon they've been cooking off stage and they bring it down to the basement of the theater and they lay out a BLT buffet for the crew and the actors so they can all come down and they have something to eat before the evening performance. It's a way of not wasting the food, but it's also a way of building community. That's what great food does. Both the way it tastes, the way it smells, it builds community among the people who are experiencing it together. Great food. Food that smells great, food that tastes great, evokes memory, that teases the taste buds, is the most powerful weapon that a food retailer has. And yet so few of them deploy it. And that's really a shame, especially at a time when small, regional, and independent retailers, they're looking for powerful weapons in the fight against the big guys who are trying to consolidate their power at the top of the food chain. Little bacon could make all the difference in the world. I think it's time to curtain up on this particular technique, especially at this moment. Anyway, that's what's on my mind. And as always, I want to hear what's on your mind.